Hi, I'm Anna from Homebound Happy Hour, and joining me for the first time on this side of the camera today is my co-host and husband, Andy. Andy was going to talk to us a little bit about some wine today.
So, thank you, Anna, for having me on our show. We've been wanting to actually feature wine on the podcast, but, there's so much out there. So we got the idea about having a wine tasting and as part of the podcast this week with part of our featured drink. So I thought it'd be kind of fun just to talk about a few things having to do with wine and, how I sort of expanded my interests and likes. If you're like a lot of people, you usually just drink whatever someone gives you once and says, here's wine, you either like it or you don't. But as you probably are aware, there's many different types of varietals, regions, all sorts of things. So it can get very overwhelming and daunting, but there's a couple of tricks that you can do to keep it simple and not have to spend a ton of money, but still planning a really fun wine night with your friends, whether that's virtually or hopefully down the road. You can have an in-person one with a couple of full vaccinated friends.
Hopefully well, too.
Well, right. Not poorly. I'd rather be fully vaccinated well
Yeah.
as opposed to poorly. Oh, all right. Well, we won't get into...
Moving on.
So one of the things that you can do is you probably have somewhat of an idea of what you like, whether it's a sweeter wine or a dry wine. You probably know whether it's a Chardonnay or a Cabernet Sauvignon, and you can start there, for example, because all those varietals are produced all over the world. And so a fun thing to do is kind of try different wines from different regions just to see how they differ. One thing that we're trying to do today is to figure out how we feel about one of our favorite varietals, which is Malbec, and we want to see what we think of Malbec from 5 different regions from around the world. Malbec is a little interesting because it, even though it originated in France, it's one of the signature wine types or wine varietals that's produced in the Mendoza region of Argentina. So it does really well because of the high altitude and the dry climate, so they produce tons of great wines. One thing that I've learned is that you don't have to spend a ton of money on wine to get a really good bottle. My rule of thumb is usually about $15 or less, because cheaper the better, right?
Yes, very much so.
Obviously, there is some get what you pay for. So yes, if you spend $100 on a bottle of wine, it's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Or if it comes in a box, maybe not so much.
Right. And not every $10 bottle of wine is going to be good.
No judgment, though.
Right. Sometimes, just like cars, sometimes you don't give a shit about what kind of car it is. You just need point A to point B. So just like wine, if you need to get from point A to point drunk, then sometimes thrift is the rule of thumb there. So anyway, we have 5 Malbecs here. We've got one from the Mendoza region of Argentina. We also have one from Chile, one from France, one from Australia, and then one from the great state of California, which we're in.
Yeah.
Kind of on that note, another thing that you can do to have a fun little tasting event is go with something that you like that has a few different types from the same label. You might recognize this label, the Coppola label. It's pretty noticeable, and you can find it at most grocery stores. Mm-hmm. But they produce a lot of different types of wine, so sometimes it's fun just to see what a Chardonnay tastes like from that same label that you've enjoyed. You could also go the route of how they do the Master Sommelier test, which is doing a blind taste test, sort of having a Pepsi challenge or a tournament, if you will.
I would feel that.
Yeah.
Completely fail.
I don't, I think I failed the Pepsi challenge, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought it was RC Cola,
RC Cola.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm. I knew it.
So, please tune into the podcast as we'll be going into some more nuances about the flavors and just talking about our usual tids and...
Our banter.
Tads. I don't know. That's not a phrase, is it?
Not that I'm aware of. It is now.
Well, let's do a little...
We're going to try the Coppola.
First taste here. And if you've ever done a tasting at a winery, Anna will talk about why they do certain things, and if you order a bottle in a restaurant, depending on the type of restaurant, they also present it to you in different ways. So we'll talk about that, and then what we're doing here with the glasses and these fine studio lights. Cheers, Anna. Get a good whiff of that. That's terrible. No, just kidding.
It's really good.
It's delightful. Yeah.
It's lovely.
Very good. So tune in for more.